Good evening and welcome to Good News on Entertainment. I'm your host, Carly Boyette. We start out tonight with an intense and post-apocalyptic survival drama from Angel Studios that is now in theaters. Homestead stars Neil McDonough and several others. The movie explores themes of courage, sacrifice, and hope amidst unimaginable adversity.
We got hit.
Does the sun
America's just been attacked.
go on shining?
But this is the story of how it began.
They know
After today,
it's the
our lives will never be the same.
We have looting and widespread panic.
Hey!
Daddy has a place for us to go. We'll be together.
The city's on fire.
they know
Sometimes we think we're doing the right thing and then it all goes wrong.
it's the end of the world.
It's time for you to take full control. It's complicated. Do you think that you're above the law? Do you think that the rules aren't for you?
Is this an ark or is this a fortress?
It's our home.
It's the end of the world.
From a directing point of view, I thought it was interesting. One of my first thoughts was here we have a movie that's, let's be honest, I mean, it's kind of, it can, it's about survival and it's dramatic, but the scenery and the location is absolutely beautiful and stunning.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a necessity, right? So we're going to take the audience on a journey through kind of the darkness of the end times. You want to kind of contrast it with the beauty of God's creation and kind of remind them of the beauty even in the darkest of days. And we had a word that we shared a lot, whether it's the music in the film or the scenery or the scenes or in the writing. It was like we want it to feel hauntingly beautiful. And so much of life is that. Like even in the darkest of days, you still have these brief moments of beauty and clarity, whether it's with your kids or whether you walk outside for a moment, you're reminded about God's, incredible creation and design of life.
It's so interesting you bring that up and that's your response because I definitely felt that right away. I mean, that made a big imprint on me on how beautiful God's creation is.
Yeah, and the location, location for me, whether it's a music video with my brothers or a movie, is incredibly pivotal to everything we do. And the location, we're in the foothills of the mountains just outside of Salt Lake City, which is where we shot it. And honestly, the moment that I showed up, I was like, this is gonna be a character in the movie and the series is this location and the mountains and the beauty. Every single shot there is it blows my mind. And even when we finish rolling at the end of the day, sometimes I'll just sit there alone as the crew kind of walks down the mountain or the hillside with the gear and just kind of absorb it. And one of my claim to fame is I like to fly drones, and I am the drone operator pretty much for the entire film. And I get to take the drone up and see these beautiful sights from the sky and the sun setting and the slight, wind blowing. And in the chaos and craziness of making a show and a movie, every now and then I just have to take the long walk back to the car just to experience it and remind myself of the beauty of our creator.
What I also appreciated is I mentioned this with Jesse when I talked with him, one of the actors in this. And I like this, it's not this detailed takedown of how the world or the United States gets taken down. The emphasis isn't on all the steps that happens. It's really how families respond, how the community responds. And I think that's what makes it a such good, still, I think, family story. I don't know if when I watched the trailer, at first thought, I'm like, I don't know if my kids could watch this, but then I watched it last night and I'm like, no, they absolutely can.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? I have a 9-year-old and an almost 13-year-old, and my hope was that I could watch it with my kids, and watch it with my siblings' families, and not be too distraught about what I'm experiencing, but also lead to some really interesting conversations. Look, you throw anybody into an end world situation, they're going to have to first rely on their family. Who do you trust the most? It's blood. It's your family. And so the families kind of coming together to fight to survive is a really important thing. And then secondly, community. Like, you can't survive a situation like this without some kind of community. And so, gosh, the amount of people that show up at the homestead from different backgrounds, different religions, different beliefs on how the homestead should be operated. Should we take care of the people outside of the gate? Should we only take care of ourselves? If somebody comes onto the property, should we shoot first? Should we not? Should we offer them food? How do you show kindness and graciousness in a situation where your life might be at risk if you do? Those are just a few of the really exciting questions that we explore in the movie and in the series.
I hate to give anything away. One of my favorite scenes though is where the wife, that's on the homestead, there's been so much planning and counting what crops they have and how long it'll survive and all of this. And at some point, again, I hate to ruin it, she just wipes it. She erases it and say, you can only do but so much planning. And the faith part of it is just surrendering to God and saying, you've put us here. Like, at some point we got to trust you.
Yeah, I think there's so much of the movie and the series that echoes so many moments in my life. And we had a film about my family's journey to the States called Unsung Hero, and every single time there was a door that closed right in front of our faces, another door or a window, as my dad would say, would open up somewhere else. And we looked back, and in the moment, it was so dark and so terrible. But, in the end, it was exactly where God wanted us to be, and we wouldn't have changed a thing. And I think in this story, there's so many parallel stories like that in the movie and in the series, of the things that happen that were meant to be bad, that could have ended, the story before it even started. Though that led to people becoming closer to each other, closer to their family, closer to God. There's in a situation like that where you're living on the doorsteps of death, I think whether you're an atheist or a Christian, you're going to be asking life's biggest questions. And this series and the movie is an opportunity for us to ask that. And no matter what you believe, I think you're going to be able to walk in and have conversations with your kids, with your family, about some of these, life's biggest questions.
Can you handle yourself with a gun?
This might be the most prepared location in the Rockies. Everyone's gonna want in, and I mean everyone.
Congratulations on this latest movie. I think it speaks so much that you can be in Christmas movies and there's good drama as well. Like, really, not a lot of actors can pull that off, but you do it brilliantly.
Oh, thank you. I'm A, blessed to hear you say that, and B, so pumped that that's a reality for me right now, because 24 and a half years ago, got into this business, and like early on, that was one of my goals, because I quickly found people just trying to pigeonhole you, which, yes, when you're new to something, you got to find like your footing and find a thing that you're good at, right? So you can get your foot in the door. But at the same time, I was like, no, I'm not just that person. I could do other stuff. And I'm like, Lord, please help me do other stuff. And I'm so thankful to be able to kind of jump around in the arenas. I love the fan base in every different genre. I love the people that it brings out. And to be honest, whether you love Christmas movies, or you love Homestead, or you love a thriller or a horror movie or an action movie, one thing is in common between all of us, and we all have a heart.
All right, let's dive into Homestead. Watched it last night. And I love that it doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of how, the world or the country would go down. Obviously, it's going to show some of that. Mm-hmm. But it really just brings up these questions of, what would you do? How would we handle? How do you protect your family?
Yeah.
But be a good community member as well.
That's so great to hear you say that. It's not often you get to perform in something that when you watch it, you actually are like, wow, I'm just watching this now. Like, I'm not even, like, I don't even feel like I'm one of the actors in it. I feel like I'm really watching just all these people exist, which is really fun. It's like, yes, I'm an actor in it, but you know what? I love being an audience member. And I love just watching. So, I'm watching it too. And I'm going, man, what's going to happen with that person? Like, even though I read the script and I know what's coming, I'm like, I want to see it. Because everybody's been bringing different performances and you're not always there and you don't get to see it. And now, did you feel like fearful? Because I've had some people say, oh, this feels so real and close to home. I don't know if I want to see it. I'm afraid. And I'm
Well,
like,
to be
no,
honest, the trailer, it got me. When I watched the movie, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, because it doesn't go into, the movie is not a breakdown of how the world is coming to an end. It's really not. It just kind of is as somewhat of a platform of, hey, if this were to, and really to let your imagination go on different ways that how our families can be affected if the internet goes out, if we lose electricity, if we, just things that really aren't that far-fetched. We should be, no matter where you are on the scale of wanting to protect yourself and your family, there are things that we need to consider.
Yeah. And I love what you said that, and you caught on to the fact that it's like, we're not trying to blame this group of people or what happened over here, or who did this. It's more so like, oh, I'm responsible. Like now I'm living this. So what's it like? What do I do? What do I want to do? And that's what we explore and get into, which is why I mentioned the human heart, because I think everybody can watch this and find someone that they sort of connect with, like I'd love to hear who stuck out to you that you were like, oh, I really love that storyline, and it's okay that it changes or it shifts, or it's okay that you stick to one person forever. But I think everyone can find somebody. It doesn't matter if you're a plumber or a doctor or a pilot or an actor or a musician, a stay-at-home mom, a single teenager. Everybody can find somebody in this movie that they go, oh, I feel like that sometimes. I'm going to watch that person.
I don't want to give too much away, but that's part of the movie of we all matter. No matter what our occupation is, there's something that we all can bring to the table.
Yeah.
If you are having to connect with your family and rebuild and make some new paths for things, everybody's skill set is gonna be needed.
Yeah, and I think it's an important message. I find myself teaching my kids this right now because one thing that I think they get bombarded with messages, and I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. We homeschool. They still get bombarded with this through media and advertisements and music, which they're going, hey, Dad, when I get older, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, hold up. Bible says, do not let anyone look down upon you because you were young. So I said, well, what do you want to do? Like, oh, I want to start a t-shirt company. Okay, what kind of t-shirts you want to make? It's like, why do you have to wait till you're older? Because someone told you that? And I'm not blaming anybody who told you that. Go ahead. You want to tell my kids that? Go ahead and tell them. It's my responsibility to help guide them through what they hear, what they think they know, and what happens in their life. And it's the same for us as adults. So when you're watching this movie, I think you really are given an opportunity we're not forcing you to think one way. We're not forcing you to believe in God. We're not forcing you to be an atheist. We're not forcing you, but we're just presenting it. Here you go. These are realities and they exist. And as you get into the series, which is another cool thing, so you're going to go watch.
And that was my husband's feedback. He goes, this seems like it should be a series. And I was like, it is, as a matter of fact. That's where it goes next, because there is so many storylines where it can take off from here.
I think it's very important that people know that going into the movie. And at the same time, we want people to watch the movie, right? So it's like, please go see the movie, but go into the movie knowing there's more. You're not done. You don't have to quit. You don't have to give up. And this is a fantastic sort of pilot episode, if you will, that feels like a theatrical movie. And then when you get into the series, which you can scan a QR code after you're done watching the movie on December 20th, and you can go home that night and start watching the TV series.
For more info on that or to find a movie time near you, just go to angel.com. Now, some of you may have recognized Jesse from some of his Christmas movies as well, the latest being A Little Women's Christmas on Great American Family. And someone else known and loved for her Christmas movies is Jen Lilley. In fact, they both star in A Little Women's Christmas together. But Jen has literally been in dozens of others. And another one of her latest is Operation Mistletoe, which you can stream on Hulu.
You want to decorate a Christmas tree with me?
You guys did a beautiful job.
Thanks to you.
We are so close. Operation Mistletoe is almost a success.
You know, this fundraiser really is doing a lot of good for everybody.
Just feels right. There's a shift in my life. I think I forgot how much I missed Christmas here. My priorities have been a bit out of whack.
Well, are you happy with what you found?
These last few days have been amazing. It's made me realize what I want in my life.
Which is?
Like spending time with people I love. In a place that feels like home.
How did you get into kind of this genre of just this feel-good kind of entertainment, which I shared with you before we got started. Obviously, that's what my show is all about. And I'm just so excited that you're just so plugged into this. And it seems like this is really, I mean, you have found it. This seems to be your joy too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely my joy. I'm like trying not to cry. I become an emotional mess sometimes because I am so grateful. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show and also taking time out of your day to have me on because, you know, I think everyone's got their own level of busy. And so I appreciate you having me on. And I, you know, as emotional as I get, even with that question, it's an answer to prayer because this morning I was like sitting having my coffee and I was like, Lord, please let me never be so self-sufficient that I am not aware of your grace and your gifting, like that this is because of you. But I got involved in this world. It was kind of this perfect storm of three things, which I love because I think that a lot of times you see in the Bible that God confirms things 3 times, you know, in order to make it sufficient. But so there were 3 different things. One, I was on Days of Our Lives, which has nothing to do with these feel-good movies at all. And my character on the show was not at all a nice girl. That's a whole other really interesting story that God was involved in. But I was involved on Days of Our Lives, and the casting director for Hallmark at the time, Penny Perry, who served for decades, and she's brilliant. She is a Days of Our Lives fan. So pillar number 1 was Penny Perry already knew who I was, and she'd been watching my work on Days of Our Lives. Next, I did a movie that was not the best. I mean, it was a great movie, but it's like one of those movies that you watch because it's so cringy from like a legal perspective. I played a lawyer, and I say that because my brothers are attorneys and my dad is a retired judge. So like they were literally like, okay, you were the one that was the most on the nose as far as like how the law goes, but it's like medical shows and legal shows, like attorneys and doctors watch them and you're like, that's not at all. Like, that's not it. Anyway, so I did this movie called Mommy, I Didn't Do It. And I played the prosecuting attorney, thank goodness, but I starred opposite of Danica McKellar and Jonathan Bennett, who I love, but Danica is amazing. And, you know, of course, she's in a lot of these movies as well. And she came to Christ either last year or the year before. That was really fun and amazing journey for her. But Danica's awesome. Like she is such a supporter of other people. She's so selfless and she's just awesome. And so I remember working on that movie with her and we played enemies in the movie and she goes, why don't you do Hallmark? Because, you know, at the time Great American didn't exist. And I was like, I'm not a child star like you. I can't just, you know, call them up and tell them, hey, I'm perfect for your network. And so she had made some calls for me as well. So that was like strike number 2 in my favor. And then the other thing that was amazing is I did this movie that was an independent that went worldwide. And to this day, it still trends as #1 movie internationally every year. It hits charts. And it was #1 the year it came out. And it was called The Spirit of Christmas. And so it was my first movie playing a leading lady. It was a Christmas movie. It was a very unique movie. It's kind of like Hans Christian Andersen-esque. And there's like a fairy tale element to it. And it's just really brilliant. And I love that movie. And so I had #1 movie worldwide, Danica calling, and then Penny. And so it's kind of a perfect storm. And then once I got into Hallmark, I think everybody realized that who I am on screen is pretty much who I am off screen. So I was blessed that I got to keep doing it. And I hope I keep doing it for a while, but we'll see.
One of the things you're doing too is this raise the reel. Tell me about that because you want to get people and fans included in what you're doing, which I love.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited about Raise the Reel. It's a new company that I started and it came from the idea of, as I just mentioned, I just started getting back into producing. And that was something that I really felt like God called me to do. I did that for a while up until 2020, the pandemic hit. And like everybody, we had to reevaluate our entire lives. I was pretty freaked out by Hollywood and everything that was going on. And because I kind of am in that warm pocket of the cozy corner of entertainment, I retreated and I prayed about it because I didn't want to be like Elijah running from Jezebel and, it being like the spirit of intimidation that I'm trying to escape. But I do think that a little bit of it was that, where I just kind of retreated from the industry. And even though it was in prayer, I felt like it was God's graciousness that he let me kind of just have a season of, okay, I'm going to go be in the happy corner. I'm just going to be here. I'm going to rest. I'm going to be a mom. I was pregnant, surprise pregnant, had another baby, Jackie. She's awesome. And, I just thought, okay, this will be where I stay and I'll kind of slow myself down. And then last year, God was like, no, you got to go back. Like metaphorically, you have to get in front. You have to be on the front line. It's time. And so I started producing again this year because there's a lot of stories I want to tell. And I was in some production meetings on 2 different projects in the same week. And I've executive produced, and there's all sorts of kinds of producers, and I will not bore the listeners with, all the different kinds of producers that there are. Just like there's all sorts of different kinds of law, not every lawyer is in a courtroom. And so I was trying to learn kind of the ins and outs of production. And I was like, okay, explain to me how films are financed. And they started explaining it to me. And as a Christian, especially, we're called to steward our money well, and I'm like, this is very bad stewardship. This is a really silly model. And I recognize that it has been the model for a long time, but also what's going on in metaphorical Hollywood. I say that as the entertainment industry as a whole, and you may have even experienced this in your side of it. There was the writer's strike, and then there was the actor's strike. And sometimes they were parallel, but they both went on too long. And both of them, well, I can't speak for the writers. I'm not in the Writers Guild. I don't know the details of that. But the Actors Guild didn't fully cross the finish line. They left a lot of loopholes in the system. And so what ended up happening is it really wasn't a win for actors at all. It imploded our business. And, viewers will notice this, where networks and streaming platforms scaled back their production between 40 and 60%. So I'm not saying boo-hoo. I'm just explaining the situation of how Raise the Reel came about. It's very interesting because in the entertainment industry, it's almost like there's a mix between the Great Depression and the Wild Wild West going on. And so everybody is kind of without insurance, freaking out, doesn't know where their next job is. And that's where I was in May of this year. And so I started praying about it because I was like, anxiety is not a fruit of the spirit, that's a fruit of the flesh. And if you're really operating in God's will, you can't be anxious. I'm not adding a second to my life being anxious. God's my provider, not these networks. So I was like, okay, Lord, what are we going to do? And so he's like, you got to get back into producing. So I get into these production meetings. I learn how silly it is, the way they're financed. And I thought, during recessions, during hard times, during the wild, wild west, the people who have peace, who don't panic, and just sit for a second, observe, and then be like, all right, they take ground. So I was like, how am I going to take ground? And I used to run a business that was extremely successful. It was wonderful. It filled my cup and so many people's cup. It was called Christmas Is Not Canceled. We ran it for 4 years. It was supposed to be this one-time campaign. It ended up running 4 years. And part of the element of Christmas Is Not Canceled was not only community building with the fans, who have like literally become my friends. I know them by name. But a pillar of it was when you get involved, you win awesome prizes. So I had that as a background. And then I'm thinking about Kickstarter, right? There's this thing called Kickstarter where Joe Schmo can go on and be like, I need to fund my student film thesis project. Kickstarter is awesome, but it is what it is. And I thought, what if I married these two, made an elevated platform where not any filmmaker can just sign on. They've got to go through me. I will interview them, but I'll bring all my branding and marketing expertise to the table. And I will give fans the opportunity to be in the movies with they can go to set. There's all these packages on raisethereal.com, and they can support the film, and it gives back to charity at the same time. There's a tithe, 10% of every single campaign gives back to a charity that's related to production. These charities, by the way, I do want to mention, I don't know that you will ever meet someone more meticulous than I am when it comes to supporting a charity. Like, I go through their 990, which is a tax IRS form. I'm literally like, what are your salaries? Like, I do a whole analysis before I will promote any charity. So I bring these charities to production. Here's your list of 5 charities that I think are worthy of supporting. So I vetted these charities. 10% of every package supports charity. And then let's say a donor, a fan is like, I'll give you $25. Then just like Kickstarter, they're going to get the poster, they're going to get the trailer. They're also funding the film. They're also giving back, but they're also, for the first one, they're getting entered to win this incredible prize, which is, a close-up, a walk-on role with a close-up in the movie, the accommodations, the airfare, the VIP treatment, the dream Christmas, because our first one is a Christmas movie. They can be in a Christmas movie with me, but they'll also win the tree, the ornaments, the wreath, the Christmas dinner they don't have to.
Yes, I love it.
Combo of these 2 ideas. And then at the same time, if they want to just say, I don't even want to risk it, I want to go to set, I want to be in this movie, there are packages that they can also do that. So it was kind of
the demand is there, right? Like, I think, as viewers, this is the type of stuff we want to see and support. And
absolutely. And I love meeting people. And I'm like, if I can give you like a dream day, if your dream is to be in a Christmas movie with me, I will do it with excellence as unto the Lord. Like, I will roll out a red carpet for you, get a step and repeat, make sure you get the set tour. We're going to have a hot cocoa bar on set. Like, I'm going to give you the experience that you purchased.
I might need to go ahead and sign up here. I'm going to go look, and this sounds amazing. And I want more time with you. We're out of time now, but I am just so excited about what God has been showing you and teaching you, and how you are putting that into practice and being willing to change and adapt, because that's part of it too. I love how you were talking about seasons, because that's what I've learned. There is a season for everything, and we're constantly learning and growing. We'll never have it all figured out, but we have to be willing to be obedient. And it's so evident that you are. So congratulations on everything, on a very busy season as of right now. And let's talk again soon and see what you have coming down, the pipeline for 2025, because again, I know it's going to be great.
I would love that. Thank you so much for your time.
For more info on that cool opportunity to join her on a movie set, just go to raisethereal.com. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Next week is going to be a lot of fun as we look back at what an amazing year it was for faith-based movies and entertainment. Meanwhile, I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian Television Network.